Adriana, why are you at Dad's funeral?
Huh? What do you mean why I'm at his funeral? Weren't all of Dad's relatives invited to come?
Stop pretending like he was your dad, Adriana. You're pretending like you were his family during yesterday's wake, too. Do you know how annoyed I was at seeing you?
But I'm his daughter, so I wanted to say farewell to him as well.
Huh? It seems like you have some sort of misunderstanding, but it's extremely rude to sit with his family when you're just an adopted child.
What? I know I was only adopted, but he raised me like his own daughter ever since I was a young child. I don't even remember who my real parents were.
It doesn't matter whether he raised you or not when you're not actually related to him by blood. You're not related to me either. I call you my sister just for convenience, but I don't really think you're my sister, alright? You're always just fucking Adriana in my mind. But I'm the daughter of a CEO, so I can't say such things out loud, right? I feel as if I'm being punished whenever I have to call you my sister, but it can't be helped.
Philia, why were you always this mean to me?
Why shouldn't I be mean to you? Even though you weren't even Dad's real child, he always treated you better than me, his actual daughter, for some goddamn reason. But just because I call you my sister doesn't mean you can pretend to be his daughter at his funeral. Dad was always nice to you, but I'm not going to be the same. I'm his real daughter, not you. You're basically just a stranger to him, you know?
I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt like that all this time. I guess it must have been difficult seeing your father treat us differently. But still, what you're saying is just going too far. Just because I wasn't related to him by blood doesn't mean that we couldn't have had a meaningful relationship as father and daughter.
Shut it. Just leave the funeral right now. I don't want to hear any of your excuses. Ugh, I always hated how you were like this. Every time I get mad at you, you always pretend like you did nothing wrong and I'm the bad guy. For once, could you just admit you were wrong?
Adriana, are you alright?
Oh, hi, Irvis. It's fine. I just got a little bit wet. It's not like she hurt me or anything.
Someone saw Phila dumping a bucket of water on you and told me about it. Where are you right now?
I'm at the rental clothes store near the funeral.
Oh, so you rented morning clothes to go to the funeral?
Yep. Someone from the shop saw that Philia dumped a bucket of water on me and brought me here.
I'm glad things seem to be alright. They're gonna give you new clothes, right?
Yeah, thankfully the owner's a kind person. I also thought of borrowing a wig and some glasses.
What? For what would you need a wig and glasses for?
To disguise myself. So I could sit with the rest of the relatives without being noticed.
What? You don't have to hide like that, Adriana. You did nothing wrong. He's your father.
But...
I'll sit next to you the whole time and prevent anyone from doing anything strange.
What? You'll do that for me?
You're my fiancé. I already got permission to sit with your relatives, so it's not gonna be a problem. Even Phila will have no choice but to behave if she's in front of a crowd of people. Don't worry about it. Return to the funeral and say goodbye to your father. Even though you weren't related to him by blood, you were probably closer to him than anyone else in that funeral. Even Phila.
Irvis, I wouldn't know what I would do without you. Thank you. I'll return as soon as I change.
What is your problem? Why is Irvis standing watch next to you the whole time?
Hello, Philia. I know you were mad at me, but dumping a bucket of water on my head like that was rude. I would have been glad to settle our differences, but you didn't want to talk to me.
This again. I hate how you always make me seem like the bad guy. You don't seem to understand yet. You're not supposed to be at this funeral. Also, Irvis is supposed to be my fiancé, not yours.
Huh? What does Irvis have to do with this? And what do you mean he's supposed to be your fiancé?
I mean, shouldn't the person who's going to inherit father's company marry the CEO's only daughter? Mom said that as well. And besides, he's too good for you anyways.
Are you trying to say that it's already decided that Irvis is going to be the next CEO? Where do you get that information?
I mean, isn't it obvious? For some unknown reason, he's engaged to you, who isn't actually related to father, but it was supposed to be me, you know? This is a good opportunity, so I'll be taking Irvis from you, okay?
That has nothing to do with whether Irvis is going to be the next CEO. What you're saying doesn't make any sense, Philia.
You're so frustrating to talk to. You're going to leave this funeral and Irvis is going to be mine, period. Oh, I almost forgot. There's something Mom wants to tell you. Don't think that a stranger has a right to receive an inheritance, she said.
Sorry, but I'm not going to leave the funeral, and I'm not going to give you Irvis as well. And what's that about the inheritance? Is she telling me to let go of my portion of the inheritance when he was my father as well?
Fine, stay at the funeral if you want. Just know that you aren't welcomed here. Oh, and as for Irvis, I'll take care of him myself later. And yes, that's what Mom is saying. I agree with her, by the way. Why should a complete stranger inherit stuff from my dad, who was a CEO? He probably has a fortune waiting for me.
I don't think this is something we should be talking about the day of the funeral. It's impolite. Dad's will's going to be released by a lawyer after the memorial service takes place, right? The company can't just wait until it's released. So it seems that they're holding meetings to decide who the next CEO is going to be. So I think it's best not to say or do anything stupid for now.
I didn't quite get what you said, but I'm going to take Irvis from you, all right? Irvis himself will probably choose me, the CEO's real daughter, over a complete stranger like you, if he's going to go after the position of CEO.
Well, I guess we are just strangers to each other. I can understand why you don't like me, but it's not an excuse to treat me the way you're currently treating me.
Finally, you understand. It's fine with me, whatever you think, as long as you get out of my life. Looks like you messed up, Adriana. Irvis, the next CEO of Dad's company, is going to be mine now. Too bad, I guess.
But it was already decided before Dad passed away that Irvis wouldn't be the next CEO.
Huh? What are you talking about? What do you mean he's not going to be the next CEO? Hi, Irvis. I'm your new fiancé from now on, so I hope we can get along.
Huh? What are you talking about, Filler? My fiance isn't you, but Adriana, your sister?
Oh, that's been canceled.
Huh? Canceled? What do you mean?
Dad messed up a bit, so you for some reason got engaged to Adriana, but in reality, you're supposed to marry me, not her. Which is why I'm gonna fix things now that Dad is gone.
My marriage with Adriana has nothing to do with the company's interest, though.
But just a little bit longer and I'll get my hands on Dad's inheritance. If you don't marry me, then the position of CEO is gonna be harder to obtain, you know?
I don't quite follow.
What?
It doesn't matter what you say. My fiancée is Adriana. I have no intention of getting married to any other woman. Goodbye.
What's the meaning of this? Why are you the next CEO? This has got to be some sort of mistake. What dirty trick did you use to make this happen?
Philia, it looks like you're misunderstanding.
What? How am I misunderstanding?
I'll try to explain to you what happened, alright?
Fine, explain it then.
Well, we first need to talk about why your father adopted me.
It's because Mom and Dad couldn't quite bear a child, right? But I was miraculously born after they adopted you.
It's true that they couldn't bear a child before they adopted me, but everything else is wrong.
Huh?
They didn't tell me how much you knew, but it seems that I'm Dad's biological nephew.
What? His nephew?
Yes, I'm his sister's daughter. His sister and her husband, meaning my real parents, suddenly passed away after getting into an accident. So your father took custody of me and adopted me as his daughter. That's what I heard.
Oh, is that so? So does that mean we're cousins?
Yes. About the next CEO of the company then. Dad's company evaluates people entirely on their skill. It's just a coincidence that the next CEO, me, also happened to be related to the previous CEO. I was one of the employees who were chosen as candidates for the next CEO. And luckily, they noticed my hard work and chose me.
So what about Irvis?
I've been going out with him since I was in the second year of high school. I'm only marrying him because I want to. It has nothing to do with the company.
No way, but I heard that he was competent at his job. He was at least chosen as one of the candidates for the next CEO, right?
I didn't know you had that wrong as well. Irvis isn't even an employee at our company. Where did you even get that information?
Seriously? But I always thought that Dad had brought the two of you together since he was planning to make Irvis the next CEO.
What? You read way too many short stories, Philia. Well, do you understand the situation now? There's a lot of things I need to learn if I'm going to be the next CEO, so I'm quite busy. Bye.
This can't be true. This is completely different to what I thought was happening. Why did I get everything so wrong? Why? Why is Dad's will like this? You inherit all of Dad's property, and me and Mom just get a few gifts.
It's just as the will says. Apparently you're Dad's child legally, but your father was actually a different man, and you were only born because Mom cheated on Dad. I was surprised when I saw this on the will, too. It looks like Dad even has proof that you aren't his real daughter, so there can't be a mistake.
What?
I'm sure Dad was conflicted by this fact all this time. He probably could have divorced Mom whenever he wanted to with the proof that she cheated on him. He could have even threw you away with her since you weren't his actual child.
Huh? So after all this time, you were the one who's related to Dad and not me? Why didn't he tell me about this sooner?
Dad wasn't the type of person to discriminate between us just because of the conditions surrounding our birth. He probably didn't tell us to keep the family safe. Maybe he knew that he and Mother would have gotten divorced. This proves that he did in fact care for you as well, Philia. Because if he hadn't, he would have just left the family fall apart and leave you and your mother to your own devices. You were just too blinded by jealousy to see that he cared for you as much as he did as me. I think what's written on his will is his final decision after years of inner torment, so I'm gonna do as Dad's will says. Goodbye for now, Philia. I hope that one day we can come to terms with each other and be the siblings that we always were.
But if he cared for me as much as he cared for you, then why did he give you more inheritance? I want that money as well. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was supposed to get rich after Dad died. Irvis, marry me instead of Adriana.
Huh? Phila? What in the world are you talking about? Why should I marry you?
You see, I was such an unlucky child all this time.
Oh, you mean how you weren't your father's actual child? I guess it's a bit ironic how you kicked Adriana out of her father's funeral because she wasn't actually related to him, when in reality, you were the one who wasn't related to your father, and she was.
Yes, I never wanted this to happen. And I can't even receive an inheritance because of Adriana.
What does Adriana have to do with this? Your father simply gave Adriana more money than you and your mother, simply because he thought Adriana would make better use of it, I think. I doubt he was petty enough to give Adriana more money just because he liked her more. It simply isn't good parenting. You and your mother are housewives without a job, right? But Adriana has a promising career. In fact, she's now the CEO of her father's company. And so that's probably why he gave her the money.
But if Adriana never existed, then at least I would have been Dad's only legal child, and me and Mom would have been able to receive an inheritance. Isn't that so?
Philia, do you realize that you're being extremely rude to Adriana?
What? Who cares if I was being a bit rude? I was only telling her the truth. She was trying to lay claim to Dad's inheritance even though she was just a stranger to him. That's why I told her to get out of my sight.
It's true that the business of inheritances can be delayed and people need to handle them logically. But after your father died, while everyone else was quietly mourning your dad with whatever thoughts they might have had for him, the sight of you and your mother looking so excited for the inheritance was disturbing, simply put. I'm not surprised your dad chose to give his inheritance mainly to Adriana. With that personality of yours, I'm actually surprised he didn't divorce your mother and let go of you sooner. It just goes to show how kind of a man he was.
It's not like that. Dad always treated Adriana better than me, and now I know why. It's because I wasn't actually his real child, and Adriana was his nephew all along. And I never intended for it to seem like I wasn't sad about my dad's death and only cared about the inheritance, Irvis. I was sad about Dad's death just like everyone else. You just didn't notice it. And what do you mean, that personality of yours? I'm a much better person than Adriana. She just pretends to be the saint when in reality, she just does it to make people like her. And me and Mom are the only person who realize it.
I knew that's what she would say. It's not like your dad ever told me anything, but I don't think that he treated Adriana better than you simply because you were the child of another man. And Adriana was his nephew. Adriana's father was the kind of person that judged someone entirely on who they are as a person. You can see it in how he runs his company, where employees are evaluated entirely on their skill, right? This means that your father was more fond of Adriana than you simply because he liked her better as a person. Although, I will admit that a father treating their children with different levels of love is a bit unfair, and I'll forgive you a little bit for that. But saying that you never intended for it to seem like you weren't sad about your dad's death and that you only cared about the inheritance, it's actually just as bad as saying that you did intend for it to look like that. Because now you're just someone that has no regard for manners and what other people think.
Irvis, don't say things like that. It wasn't my fault that I wasn't actually my father's child and that Adriana was his niece. I didn't ask for any of this to happen. Please, I have no one else to depend on. Why don't you want to marry me?
I feel bad for your situation, but sorry, I'm not going to marry you no matter how much I pity you. Because I love Adriana and no other woman. Goodbye, Philia. I hope that you someday find happiness of your own.
Dad was the owner of the house Philia and her mother lived in, but it was now my house after the inheritance. It seems the two were too proud to live in a house owned by me, so they used the little money they received as a gift from Dad to find an apartment. Actually, the gift money they received was only little compared to the rest of the inheritance, but it was still quite a large sum of money. But for some reason, the two of them decided that these were the funds they needed to start gambling, even though they needed that money to get by until they could start providing for themselves. Even though they intended to earn some easy money by winning, they eventually lost all of it. Now the two of them support themselves by working at a job that comes with housing. But since the two of them have never worked a day in their lives, they frequently make mistakes and get scolded by the other employees. The two now live in poverty and constantly have fights, it seems. Me and Irvis, on the other hand, got married a few months after the memorial service took place, which is also when I started to be more comfortable with my new position as the CEO. We decided to find a new house as a way of putting the past behind and starting anew. And I decided to sell the house I inherited from Dad. I kind of feel bad for Philia. After all, she thought that she was her dad's real child her whole life. But to be honest, I don't think Dad was the kind of person to judge a person based on something like that. So I also feel that what happened to her was ultimately her own doing.
Simon, is now a good time? There's something I need to talk to you about.
Hey, what's up? If you think it's something I can help with, then I'm happy to talk.
It's about Oliver.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. I'm not really supposed to discuss school matters privately. I know we might be childhood friends, but I could get in trouble if people knew we were discussing that kind of thing outside of the official channels. Who's to say how the other moms might react?
I understand. I'm really sorry about this, and I hate to trouble you. But before I call the school, I thought it might be best to talk to you first, since you are his teacher and all. I know it's not normally how things are done, but please, can you make an exception just this once?
Okay, Kate, but I mean it. I really can only do this once. So what's up?
So here's the thing. Oliver recently started saying he doesn't want to go to school anymore. I've asked him so many times, but he won't tell me why.
Huh? By any chance, is that why he's been absent the last 2 days? I'm sorry. I heard you call in reporting it as an illness. Oh, I just thought he was a little under the weather.
Look, there's no kid that age who doesn't feel like taking the day off every now and then, right? So, to be totally honest with you, I did let him have one day off. But then he said he didn't want to go today either, and now he's refusing to go tomorrow too. He won't listen to anything I say. I asked him if he's having some kind of problem at school, but he won't tell me anything at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kate. I really thought I had a good idea of the situation in class. But based on what you told me, it sounds like there might be something going on that I don't know about.
I see. Would you mind keeping a closer eye on him for the time being? I'm so sorry to trouble you like this.
It's fine, don't sweat it. Here's what I'll do. I'll speak to some of Oliver's friends about this and see if I can find out what's going on. Don't worry, we'll get to the bottom of this. I'll contact you as soon as I know anything. Don't let this get you down, okay? Let's just see how things play out and take it from there. If you pry too much when he already feels down, I think there's a chance it might make him hate school even more. And then he'll never end up coming back.
You're right. Got it. Thank you. Oh, by the way, if it seems like this is going to drag on any longer, I'll go through the proper channels and contact the school next time. I assume they'll speak to you about it in that case, so I can only apologize in advance for any inconvenience. But you're right. For the time being, let's just see what we can find out. Thanks, Simon.
Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Is everything okay? If so, look, we've already crossed the Rubicon, so we might as well at least get to the bottom of what's going on with Oliver. Don't worry, okay? I want Oliver back in class more than anyone. Which is why I want you to know you can talk to me if you're still having problems. I want to help you.
Oh, sorry. I've been so busy I forgot to reply.
Huh? What the hell are you playing at? Your kid's skipping school and you're too busy to reply to me? I didn't know you were that kind of person.
That's funny. I was just about to say the same thing about you. Because I had no idea you'd do something like this.
Wait a second. Why are you getting mad at me all of a sudden? What did I do?
You told me the other day about why Oliver didn't want to go to school anymore, didn't you? Because he fell out with his friends and felt isolated?
Yeah, well, I mean, this kind of thing happens all the time. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen it. But you know, his friends said they feel bad and want to apologize. Everyone's waiting for him to come back. They even said they were going to go over to your house and try encouraging him to come back.
Yes, and they did, very kindly. But that's not the truth, is it? Because you're the one who turned him into a social pariah in class, aren't you?
Me? I'm his teacher! What the hell are you saying? You really think I'd do that to one of my own students?
Listen to me. All I'm doing is telling the truth.
The truth? Give me a break. You can't seriously be claiming. Do you think there are still teachers around who do that kind of thing? Even elementary school kids have smartphones at this day and age. Our conduct has to be flawless at all times. One wrong move, and suddenly the whole world would be talking about it on social media. Can you just calm down and think about what you're saying?
You're right. It really would be unbelievable if there was a teacher acting like that in this day and age. But believe me, I am calm. I am messaging you from a place of calmness.
No way. How could you say that? We're childhood friends, damn it! Kate, what reason could I possibly have for wanting to turn your son into the class loner?
Oh, I can think of a reason. Because you wanted to take revenge on me for turning down your marriage proposal. Because I married the guy you hated instead.
Wow, that? Seriously? Listen to me carefully. I couldn't give 1/10 of a heck about what happened back then. It was over 10 years ago. It's all water under the bridge to me now. Do you really think I still have feelings for you after all this time? I'm over you.
I didn't think so before all this, at least. That's why I gave you my phone number when I moved back to our hometown. But it would appear I made a huge mistake.
How about you calm down and stop blathering yourself? You're a worn-out old hag with a kid, for God's sakes. Who would want anything to do with you? Stop fantasizing. And what the hell does me falling out with your husband have to do with anything? Stop coming up with weird excuses to justify your lunatic behavior and start taking your meds. You're creeping me out.
Your dad's a good-for-nothing high school dropout. Your genes are worth less than dirt, and you'll never amount to anything, you miserable little worm. If you dare tell your mom about anything I say to you, you're both gonna need to start looking over your shoulders. Did I miss anything? That's what you said to Oliver in class, isn't it? Not only that, but you banned all of his classmates from speaking to him. What do you think you're doing? Are you seriously trying to take revenge on me through my son? Is this really what kind of person you are?
Wow. Just wow. I'm speechless. This is beyond ridiculous. This is just some pile of baloney you heard from Oliver. Kids are masterful liars. It comes as naturally to them as breathing. Surely you as a mother would know that. Could you please not try and turn me into some kind of monster without having a shred of evidence to back it up? You're tapped in the head. You seemed a lot wiser and more reasonable back when we were kids. It's kind of disappointing seeing how you turned out.
It is exactly because I'm a mother that I know he's telling the truth. If I didn't believe my own son, what would that make me? Do you have any idea how much it hurt him to be told such horrible things? By his own school teacher? You call yourself a teacher.
God, what is it with that question? It's like some kind of freaking slogan for angry moms. I'm sick of hearing it already. Yes, actually, I do call myself a teacher. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Make sure you remember it. Being a teacher means I spend more time with the kids throughout the year than their own parents, which is why I need you to start treating what I say with a little bit more credibility. I mean, really, you're going to believe the word of some lying kid over a highly respected adult? Come on, which is it going to be? Who do you believe?
I believe my son!
I see. Okay, Mommy, let me ask you a question. Where's the proof? Hold on, let's see it. If you're going to accuse me of saying all this stuff to Oliver, then you must have proof.
I have no way of proving what you said to Oliver.
Okay, then this conversation is over. If you refuse to cease and desist, I'll report you to the school for harassment.
This conversation is not over. I might not be able to prove that you said anything to Oliver, but I can prove that you banned everyone else in the class from speaking to him.
I gotta be honest, you're really bugging me now. I have no idea what kind of proof you think you have. But if you want to report me to the school, then go right ahead. Do whatever you like.
Okay, I will. That's exactly what I'll do.
This is the perfect opportunity to tell you. So get this. Even if, for argument's sake, I did do something, you should know that I have friends in high places who will be there to protect me if I need it.
Friends in high places? A teacher? Who would protect you?
My uncle. He's on the Board of Education. If anything happens to me, he'll have my back. To put it bluntly.
So that's why you think you got free reign to do whatever you want, huh? Suddenly, everything makes sense. If that's how you want to play this, I have a little something of my own to tell you.
Huh?
It really is a coincidence about my father-in-law, don't you think?
Your father-in-law?
My husband's dad is the superintendent of the Board of Education. It would be extremely foolish of you to believe you're invincible just because your uncle happens to be a board member.
Really? By the way, about that proof.
Hmm?
You just said you had proof?
Oh, what's this? You seem to have changed your tune. Didn't you just tell me to do what I wanted?
Quit harping on and show me the proof already! You need to understand that you don't have a hope in hell of taking me down based on the word of a few brats alone. If that's all you have. It's more than possible they could cook up some story together to try to get me fired. That kind of thing does happen, you know.
The proof is the recording of you threatening your students. Remember? You said it yourself after all, about how even elementary school kids have smartphones in this day and age.
Recording? Cell phones are forbidden in class! They're to be kept in lockers and used only at break time! I don't believe you! All students know they'll be severely reprimanded if they're caught with their phones in class. We have a very strong system of deterrence in place.
Duh, I know that. Who doesn't? Do you seriously not know that kids hide them in their pockets and sneak them into class despite having been a teacher all these years? Besides, since when did the threat of the teacher getting angry ever stop kids from breaking the rules? Most importantly, he did it to help out a friend in need.
Who was it? Who recorded me? I want a name now!
Like hell I'm telling you anything!
Shut up and give me a name! Now!
Even if you knew their name, it wouldn't protect you from what's coming. Have you even thought this through? The teacher who bullies and intimidates his own students versus the students who break the rules to protect their friend? How do you think this ends? You don't need to be a genius to figure it out. In any case, even if you don't understand, you will soon. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have nothing more to say to you. Never contact me again.
You're not going anywhere! Don't try to run away from me! I said I wanted a name! Who recorded me? You will pay for this insolence! You all will! Kate, I think I owe you an apology over what happened with Oliver. I'm truly sorry. The way things are going, it's looking like I might not be a teacher for much longer. I abused my position due to personal grievance, which is absolutely unacceptable and should never have happened. I've reflected on what I did, and I'm truly sorry. So please, will you find it in your heart to forgive me for what I did to Oliver? And Oliver himself? If he forgives me, I might still be in with a shot of salvaging things at work. Please, will you give me a chance to apologize to him in person?
I told you never to contact me again, didn't I? I'll be letting the school know you contacted me directly and not through your lawyer like you were supposed to. I will never forgive you for bullying, victimizing, intimidating, and threatening my son. A person like you should never have been allowed to become a teacher in the first place. I'll make sure you never get a chance to see Oliver again.
Please. I did this for a reason. I really did love you, Kate. Which is why I was so shocked and hurt when I found out you were marrying that high school dropout. I always thought I'd be the one to marry you. I could have made you so much happier. But then when I got down on one knee and you turned me down, my world fell apart.
Yes, Simon. I know.
You do? You finally understand? In that case, maybe you and me could finally give it a shot. I've been waiting all my life for this moment. Will you be mine, Kate?
No. I mean, I know what a despicable, hopeless waste of space you are. Did you really think I was going to say yes to your proposal? We never even dated. Never contact me again. You disgust me.
What? You got some nerve. This was all your fault to begin with.
What?
If you weren't in my life to begin with, none of this would have ever happened. I would have never developed feelings for you. I never would have proposed to you. And now this. I wouldn't be in this mess either. If you didn't exist, your son wouldn't have just happened to be a student at the school I teach at. I mean, I'm his form teacher? Is this some big cosmic joke? It was bad enough that you rejected me without having to see your husband's offspring set staring at me every day. It couldn't be more humiliating. Why can't you understand how I feel?
So you're saying this is all my fault? Good. Your absolute lack of remorse only strengthens my resolve to do what I have to do. Mark my words, you will be dealt with. There is no place for someone so deranged and bitter that they drag their personal affairs into their professional life to the extent of damaging their own students' mental health. If you're so desperate for someone to pull you out of the hole you dug, they're gonna need the mother of all shovels, and you're wasting your time with me. Oh, I know. Your uncle's on the Board of Education, isn't he? Try asking him. Oliver became incredibly emotionally unstable after Simon said all that awful stuff to him. One of his classmates noticed that his mood seemed to drop every time the teacher went over to speak to him. He was so concerned that his mom called me after school to discuss the situation. She said she thought there was a possibility that Mr. Pierce, aka Simon, was harassing him. What's more, apparently my son wasn't the only student he'd threatened. Oliver's friends, too, were told that if they told their parents about how they weren't allowed to speak to him, he'd ban everyone from speaking to them, too. After finding out the truth, me and the other moms all joined forces. They were all so kind, and each tasked their children with paying close attention to the dynamics between Simon and Oliver in class, and report back to us with anything they noticed. Everyone soon became aware that something unpleasant was happening, but even still we found it difficult to take definite action for lack of concrete evidence. Which is why I was relieved to hear one of Oliver's friends was clever enough to record Simon threatening him. Even though they knew if they were found out, they'd end up in the same situation or worse. I was moved to tears by the level of kindness and bravery doing something like that must have taken. Oliver told me everything when I gave him the news that we'd been collecting evidence and were ready to present it to the school. I've never seen him look so relieved in my life. Then, we finally made our official report to the school and Board of Education. Simon's teaching license was revoked, and he was fired on the spot. By the way, you know how he said his uncle was a board member? It was actually true. But ironically, far from making everything disappear, As he'd naively expected, he was actually angrier than anyone and vehemently demanded he receive the most severe penalty. It just goes to show, you can't expect someone to have your back when you're in the wrong just because you happen to be related to them. That man is so deluded it's disturbing. With his former bully gone and things at school having calmed down, Oliver made his long-awaited comeback. He graduated with flying colors just this year. I can't deny I was a little anxious at the time about Simon trying to get his own back against my son somehow. I thought about moving house, changing schools, and all sorts of other potential solutions. But ultimately, Oliver was dead set on graduating alongside all of his friends, and I wanted to respect that. I did start dropping him off and picking him up from school by car every day just to be safe. But even still, I'm so happy he was able to graduate at the school he was used to with the friends he loved. I was showered with thanks by the teachers at the school, as well as members of a local crime prevention organization. The other day, Oliver came up to me and said, "Mom, 2 juices and 2 ice creams, please." After which, a beautiful young lady walked in. Oliver got a girlfriend! I found myself moved to tears yet again, this time while preparing juice and ice creams. I'd prefer if you guys didn't mention what a crybaby I am to anyone, though.